Okay, so today we will discuss, as you know, about the lesson concerning the life of Leo Luster, who was a Holocaust survivor. Basically, all of you have done a homework, and we have agreed on which of you will present parts of it, right? So according to what we have agreed, the first part about the chronology, about his life, will be done by David and his group, right, Davide?
That's right, thank you. So the historical timeline of the Leo Luster's life is on the screen. And first, of course, we have to start with the year he was born, 1927, when Leo Luster was actually born in the Austria, Vienna, in the Schreigasse 12. And he was there living a peaceful life in the multi-ethnic Vienna in that time, pre-war time. And as he was growing up in 1938, the tensions were rising up, and the Chancellor Schuschnigg resigned. And that, in his father's words, has marked the beginning of the misery of the Jewish people in Austria. A year later, in 1939, Austria ceased to exist. It was Leo's father lost his job and he went to prison, and his family was thrown out of their apartment. 3 years later, in 1942, the pretensions were at its peak, I guess, and the Nazis deported actually whole Leo's family from Vienna into the labor's camp. And the 2 years later, he was transported to a labor camp in Gliwice in Poland, and later again to another labor camp called Blechhammer. There he was found by the Russian soldiers, and then he went to the Poland in Krakow to get actually the legal documents from the Red Cross as a survivor of these camps and labor camps and Auschwitz, etc. So the year later, the war was finally over, as we know, in 1945, and Leo started working actually for a Jewish aid organization to help other people out. 4 years later, in 1949, Leo and his mother boarded a ship and started their journey to the Palestine, where they found his sister, who was already there, where her father has sent her to escape the war and survive. 3 years later, in 1952, he met a girl named Shoshana, and he married her in 1955. In 1956, his daughter was born, and 5 years later, in 1961, the trial of Adolf Eichmann takes place, and the Jews were able to share each of their own experiences, and finally felt they get the recognition they deserved over the years, even though it was nearly 20 years late. And in 1992, he was honored by the Austrian state for his help to the Austrian embassy in the Israel and his aid and work in that period. That was a short peek at his life and timeline of Leo Luster's
Yes.
life.
Yeah, thank you, David. Awesome. I mean, thanks to everyone who participated in this part. So basically, what we have also done is that we tried to also create a map of his life, right? Including some of the events that David has mentioned. So I think that that part will be shared by Mattia and his group. So we will see their screen soon, right? And Mattia will explain actually how this looked like, right, on the map. Mattia?
Thank you. So I don't know if you can see my screen yet. Did I manage to share it?
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. So here on this map we see presented basically, first we see Europe, right? In Vienna, Vienna is the place where Leo Luster was born. It's where his parents, Moshe and Golda Luster, they were married here and lived. They had their first child, Helena, his sister, and his older sister, and then him 6 years later. So the story begins, of course, in Vienna with a anecdote of his father, remarking how Schuschnigg, the former chancellor of Germany, he resigned, and then shortly after, the day after, Germans entered Vienna, and within a day they conquered it and annexed it. In November 9th of 1938, we have what is called Kristallnacht, which is Krystal Night. It was a pogrom in Vienna where many hundreds of Jewish business owners, they were arrested and persecuted. So, of course, Moshe's father, Leo's father, was arrested, and here we see the first, how do I say, shift or transition in locations, which is in 1942 when they were deported from Vienna to Theresienstadt, which is here, which is near Prague, Prague, right? They traveled 2 days by train. So this is where Leo begins his first job for the Nazis as a cook. So let me see what they have. After 2 years, he's found on a transport list, which is his family, except for his mother, they were all sent to a camp that is Auschwitz, while his sister was already sent to Palestine a few years earlier. Next, they were sent to, after the Soviets came close to Poland, they were sent to march to Gleiwitz, which is a labor camp where first he was separated from his father in Auschwitz, so then he was sent to march here by foot to Gleiwitz. Next, we have a large consecutive number of cities from 45 to 49, but let's start with Blechhammer. So Blechhammer was a place where there was a camp which the Soviets liberated, and the Soviets liberated, and then they were taken to Krakow to make their documents and passports so they can move after. And then Leo went to Theresienstadt for his mother, and then he went to Vienna to visit his old home. After that, he went to Deggendorf, the last position in Europe. He lived there for a while, but then he traveled to Palestine. So he worked. Yes, I forgot to mention that in displacement camps. So those were camps where people who didn't have a home after the war lived. So he lived in Haifa for a while. That's where he had a job there for the joint company, JDC. Until he lived there until 67. I think it was like that. So in Jerusalem in 1961, we had the trial of Adolf Eichmann, and also when it comes to Palestine in 1955, he meets his wife and marries her, and then in the end, Tel Aviv. He lives in Tel Aviv and works for the Austrian embassy. And in 1992, he gets an award from Austria for his exemplary action in reconciliation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. That was awesome. I mean, this is a great representation also, right? How he spent his life, and as we can see, I mean, it's a good thing that you have marked all the cities and also concentration camps, etc., where he spent a large portion of his life, right? And obviously, according to that, we can actually trace back all the important events that happened throughout his life. Okay, so your task, of course, among the other things, was to watch Centropa's movie, right, about Leo Luster. As you could see, Centropa has created a large number of videos, movies, call them whatever you like, that are concentrated on the life of Jews, especially those who survived the Holocaust. Of course, Leo Luster, as we have said, was one of them. Another task that you had was to use some memorable phrases, if we can say it like that, that are mentioned in the video, and of course to try to explain them with your own words and how you have comprehend them. So basically we have decided that Jovana and no, Uroš and Ivana will do this part, right? Uroš, will you start then?
Yes, I will.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You can see the presentation, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right,
Awesome.
So
Uroš, will you pick, because I know that we have that we choose three of them. Would you pick one of those three that you have mentioned? I mean,
Well,
yeah.
I'd have to pick out the first quote that we decided upon, and that is, "Now our misery begins." When Leo's father heard that Chancellor Shushnig resigned in 1938, and Shushnig, well, he wanted to hold, how can I say, a vote to decide on if Austria will join Germany or not. But after his resignation, a pro-Nazi chancellor gained power, and well, that was it. Austria lost its independence the next month, and the persecution of Jews started shortly after that. So, why we think that this quote is very impactful is because Leo's father, he's already experienced this kind of misery since he survived the First World War, and he knows what the next one would bring. Like, we could already tell that it would be way larger and bring way more casualties than the first one. So
That would be like the main reason why you have chosen, right?
yes, because he is aware of the anti-Semitic politics of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. They already heard stories what was happening to the Jews in Germany, and they know that it's coming to Austria as well. And as we know, after that, Leo's father lost his job. His store was most likely destroyed, like many others in the Kristallnacht pogroms of November 1938. And his father was also arrested and forced to stay quiet about the torture he endured during imprisonment.
Okay, cool.
So
I mean,
as
just sorry for interrupting you. Basically, what you would like to say with this is that actually he kind of realized what is about to happen, right? When he said, "Now our misery begins," he basically knew that a lot of bad things will happen to his family and to the other people, right? That surround him.
yes, he knew, and well, I don't know if I can say he was prepared mentally for what was about to come, but we will never know that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good conclusion also. Thank you, Rosh, once again, of course, and the members of your group who were also doing it with you, right, Alexandra and Lana. I have also asked Ivana to choose one of the quotes that she kind of picked right from the video, and hopefully you will be able to present it now.
Do you see it? Like the document right now?
Yeah.
We can see it. Yeah. Okay. So in conclusion, when we look through the entire movie in the film, how we have quotes that actually Uroš mentioned, we can definitely understand like one part of how it was for Leo and other Jews at that time. For me, like the most, let's say, important quote was the moment when he actually recognized the taxi driver or the bus driver. I'm not sure. I forgot. He said like, "I haven't seen you since Auschwitz," which kind of struck me. I think most of us actually had like the chills going around because it's some type of irony, let's say, like dark irony actually, because he's trying to bring it up as a joke. I believe that's my personal opinion, but way harder to do so, because at that time Holocaust and all those monstrosities actually caused, I believe, some post-traumatic effects on people that survived that. Some of them, of course, couldn't survive, unfortunately, and it's definitely something that it's not for joking, but people try to move on and to live their own lives and try to have a new life at that point because they don't want to remember those events for sure. It's definitely something that nobody would want to remember or even experience at first place.
Yeah. Just before we continue, while reading your works, I have realized that a couple of you have done the same one. I mean, that you have chosen the same quote, which obviously, as you have said, it impacted you because, I mean, it's a really strong one, right? Because he recognized the tattoo, the number of the tattoo that, of course, the prisoners in different camps were had, actually. Thank you, Ivana. I mean, thank Novak also and everyone who participated in this part of the workshop. And for the end, we have also prepared, how to say, a short poems or text, right, that you have created and tried to express kind of your feelings towards this topic. In that sense, we have chosen Jovan and David to present their part, right? Jovan, will you be the first one?
Professor, I'm sorry, didn't you say also that I should present like my quote with like Jews? I don't know if you said it.
Yeah, also, of course, yeah.
Okay, okay. So should I then do it?
Yeah,
I think. Okay. So I'll try to share my screen. I don't know if just a second. Yeah. Can you see it now? Do you see it?
It should be just a second.
Do you see it?
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I chose this very short dialogue between the Leo Luster and also one of the Russian soldiers that actually saved them. So basically, I said in Jewish, Yid, yeah, Yid, Yid. So basically, that means I'm a Jew. He looked at me and said, Ya toshe Yid. Me too. So basically, I chose this part because it's kind of like I felt some kind of compassion between the Russian soldier and the Leo, because they're both Jews and they know how like the whole situation that was not just in Vienna but like during the Nazi time, and that kind of touched me, and I think it's also important to stress it out. So basically, it was during it was during the period when the Leo Laster was transported from Gleiwitz to this Bleihammer camp. So basically, it was a labor camp, and when the Russian soldiers basically saved them before the SS soldiers tried to like burn their barracks and so on. So that's so the time we know that it's around 1945, so in January 18th. Like I said, the place is Bleihammer camp, and also the circumstances I explained that it was of course during the winter when actually Leo left the labor camp Gleiwitz, and they managed to like survive. So basically, should I now continue with the song, or should I explain? Or I hope that everyone understood this part and why I chose it. I can also explain it. Like
if someone has a question, of course they can raise their hand. So it would be easy to maybe explain something furthermore. If not, in the meanwhile, you can read the poem, right? Which can express your attitude towards this.
So basically, I was motivated and I got an inspiration from like Jews and their situation, because while I was watching the film, I like felt their situation and I felt kind of like compassion, and I just couldn't believe that it was really like that. So basically, I thought it's a good idea to take that as an idea of my poem. So basically, together is better. But people like us, we can never leave the past behind. We can never forget, but time forgive. We are different, right? Yes, we'll never be you. We are dignified Jews, full of respect and affection toward others. We don't kill, we love. We don't separate, we unite. We support and don't judge. We appreciate and help. So basically, my idea was to present the view of Jews, and that basically in one point in the film, Leo said basically when they got their recognition, and when they basically were like, let's say, kind of free and kind united with other people like Viennese, for example, that they were always on time, that they always respected other people, that they always were dignified and respect everyone, and they didn't separate, like for example in Nazi time, like Nazi Germans and also Austrian Nazis, like were dividing them, and basically they weren't allowed to sit in like public parks and so on. So basically I tried to, by this poem, to support Jews, and that they actually would never do something like that, and because they were like kind of victims of that time. So basically that was my motivation to write this, and kind of present the Jewish side and how would they act if, for example, Nazis were the victims. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you. So for the end, we have left the part that David Vukicevic has finished. If I recall, before David, I give you a chance. I think that another group, I think the group with David Bojanic and Sergey and Mia, right? You also wrote a poem. Am I wrong, or David Bojanic? Or someone else from
I'm
that
sorry
group?
until I
No
turned
worries.
the microphone on.
No,
Yeah, we also have a song in our presentation.
okay. Do you want, after David
A
Vukicevic
poem.
finishes his part? Yeah, a poem. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Do you want to present it also after David? The
Yeah,
other
of
David.
course, we can do
Okay,
that.
cool. Okay, sorry, David Vukicevic. You can continue now, and we will leave them for the end then.
Okay. Just it will take a sec to share the presentation. So the sentence that I like the most is the past is another country. That's the quote I found most meaningful and most significant. So here we can see that Leo understands and indicates that those were so horrible years in his life that all Jews know very well. But on the other hand, they want not to think about it in order to try to create a new, better life in a new country. So, since it wasn't possible in a country where they were detested only due to the fact that they are Jews. My poem about Leo Luster's life is as follows. Dear Leo, I haven't seen you since Auschwitz. They freed us, Russians and Bolsheviks. God made it so that you are still alive. To have a better life, you have to strive. Please don't be so jumpy, the country.
Okay, thank you, David. Also, so for the end, if you agree, I recall it actually right now that also the first group had a good poem, I would say. I mean, that's my opinion. So I didn't want them to miss to present it also. And of course, if anyone else, I think we have enough time, would like actually to add something or to present something, we will leave him. Of course, we will leave time for him. Sorry, David, are you going to share the screen, Bojanic, or?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, go on.
All right, so here's our poem inspired by the quote of him that the Jewish community let the Jewish kids actually play only in the cemetery of the Jewish people. So it goes like this. A dreaded winter day, so I'll meet you at the cemetery gates, said Leo to his Jewish friends, as their future on the Nazis depends. So they go inside, surrounded by people who died, and seek safety that only the cemetery can provide, where they couldn't hear the screams of people who fought and cried. So this is actually a poem inspired by, as I already said, the period in the Vienna that was pre-war when the tensions were really high up, and the Nazis were kind of hunting Jewish on the street, and the only safe place for our kids. This is the opposite. So the kids are actually full of life, full of play. They want to just act as a normal child, and they couldn't do that anywhere except on the cemetery. In the cemetery, which is the exact opposite of the kids and of the play and of the fun that they should have in their lives, which is where their dead relatives and their family actually lie, maybe because of that regime or any other cause for that time. So that was really a hard point to really highlight that opposition of the two actually parts of their lives, and that was what inspired us to write this.
Okay, thank you,
That's
David. Once again, awesome. So before we finish kind of right, I would like to ask if anyone else would like to refer to what we have done. I'm really pleased that almost everyone has finished the homework. Although I guess I haven't been able to send it before, so you haven't had too much time. But obviously, you were inspired, I would say, with it. So that's also a good thing. So if that's all for today, of course, we can continue with this topic on the classes to come. I would also like to mention, I guess I forgot it at the beginning, the idea of the lesson itself was given to me by a colleague who works in Israel. His surname is Blackman. He is a teacher of literature, but as you can see, I mean, the topic itself obviously can be used on different classes and with different approaches. So basically, we have used this one, and hopefully, it also spread your knowledge regarding not only history but also some other subjects, rights, and areas. So if you agree, then we will finish with this. Of course, we can continue doing this topic on the next classes and similar topics, but for today it would be it.